At Tracks and Tackle, we've always said one thing, and that's hunt your hunt, any way you want to do it. You want to go chase whitetails with a bow or sit in a blind in the early morning with your family? You want to go run public land or chase birds with your... We all know there's no one singular way to go out and get the job done. So that's why we at Tracks and Tackle are excited to bring you the Hunt Your Hunt line of shirts, hoodies, and hats. Real gear for real people. Up early, out late, run in the woods, run in the water. Bringing outdoors back to what it should be. Respect for each other, respect for the hunt, respect for nature, and respect for everybody's choice to do it the way that they choose to do it. Tracksandtackle.com. Check it out. All the gear that you need, plus every penny from every purchase goes right back into the show so that we can keep the stories and the traditions coming your way. Show us some love. Tracksandtackle.com.
He had a farm that he used to run, and he was overrun with raccoons. And he said to me, he said, there's about a dozen traps down there in the barn. He says, this year you're in charge of getting rid of these raccoons. I said, okay. I had no idea what I was doing. He kind of took me out, showed me how to set a trap, make a dirt hole, and turned me loose. The only thing he didn't tell me was the first animal you caught, you had to eat.
Hey, hunting family, what's going on? Welcome back to the Tracks and Tackle podcast, your hunting camp away from camp. I'm your host, Ron, and tonight we got a true Pennsylvania outdoorsman sitting around the fire with us. We got Rob Warwick, better known to a lot of folks as the Mountain Man. He's the host of the Keystone Experience podcast, and Rob's been living and breathing the PA outdoor lifestyle for decades. And he's been chasing whitetails, turkeys, coyotes, anything else the woods will throw at him ever since a young lad, I believe. But we'll get that story from here in a minute. Rob's podcast has been running strong for years, covering hunting, trapping, fishing, and other stories that comes along with living in the Keystone State. So, Rob, brother, welcome to Tracks and Tackle. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This is kind of different, me being on the other end of this, so...
It's fun when you're not the host because you get to share your stories, right?
Yep.
We love it. So I got my co-host Chris from 3B Outdoors. Chris, how you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm watching all the white marlin stuff going on right now. And two guys that Lee and I know just placed. So that's kind of cool.
You know some guys that are placing down there?
Yeah, they're brothers that fish on a boat, I think. If I'm reading it correctly, because they post things in a weird time down there, and they both caught tunas down there, and I think they're both on different boats that are very high money placing tunas right now. I'm going to text Lee, see if he knows, because he follows it. But it's cool. It's an exciting thing to watch, man. It's like a very Maryland summertime thing to do. But I'm a Yankee up here with you boys now, so.
Well, we're gonna talk the Keystone State here for probably the next 50, 60 minutes, so buckle up. Mountain Man, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for the audience that doesn't know who you are? Why don't you just introduce yourself and give the audience the lay of the land?
Well, Rob Warwick. I've been hunting since I was 12 years old. I'm 56 now. And I try to pass this on to everybody that I can. Anybody, newcomers, kids, people who have been hunting for years. I never, ever, when I started this, claimed to be a professional at any of this stuff. I always used to say when I was doing food plots, I always say, I only play a farmer on the weekends. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You give me a tractor and some food plot stuff, I'll plant you a food plot. But I have no idea what I'm doing. Same with this stuff. I started this. I started out on Keystone Wild Outdoors TV with Steve Rocco and a bunch of other guys, and we were on Fox Network and Carbon TV and other places like that. And to keep the TV show going in the summertime, there's nothing to hunt. So me and another guy came up with the idea to do the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the Keystone Experience came in play. And me and a business partner did this up until 2 years ago, and then me and him split ways, and here we are now 2 years later on my own and still enjoying it. Probably having a better time now that I don't have a business partner, and I can do what I want with who I want. There's, you know what I mean? There's no rescheduling or, I don't want to talk to this guest or anything like that, or, and I'm a very political guy. So it was kind of hard with him. He didn't want to get into the politics and stuff, but politics and being a sportsman, they go hand in hand, if you ask me.
They do if you want to move the needle on legislation and things. And, there's always something happening in the game news that is impacting us.
Yeah, we vote the wrong clowns in there, and next thing you know, we ain't allowed to do what we love to do. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but if I didn't do this, I think I'd explode. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's a great outlet. And, I think from our perspective, we started this show just a little bit over 3 years ago, and it was just an outlet for us to get together and tell some stories. And we met so many cool people, and we built really solid relationships with people, getting to know, because we're trying to connect with semi-local regional folks. So we're doing that intentionally. And that's how Chris and I got connected, and we talk pretty much on the daily now, right, brother?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just hit it right off the bat. I mean, it's cut from the same cloth and picked up at different spots, right?
But don't get us wrong. Like, we do argue and have difference of opinion. When you talk about having a partner, I'm probably difficult. Chris is easy to get along with, but I'm the hard one.
Nah, all about having a good time. So I'll message you later, Rob, about new business. I'm just kidding.
The real stuff. Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you with us tonight, man. Why don't you, I sent you an email with a couple of things. Certainly we want to just have a chat, and it's like sitting around the campfire, but I just wanted to get your thoughts moving toward, a couple of different talking points. One of the things that when I started this show, we use monikers, or that like a handle, like Mountain Man. And when you're around long enough, you get a nickname, or if you earn one. And I'd love to hear the story. How did you get the nickname Mountain Man?
Well, you guys are going to laugh about this, because the Mountain Man nickname only came about probably 8 or 9 years ago. I met Dan Young down at the ATA show. We went down there with Creek Archery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the archery, local archery shop that I help out at and hang around down there. Every year we went to the ATA show, and Dan Young, Philip Vanderpool, Larry McCoy, the Drury brothers, Michael Waddell, all sitting in a bar one night. We're all drinking, and the next day we were palling around with Dan and them guys, and Dan said to me, he's like, he said, you watch Duck Dynasty. I mean, you guys seen the other pictures. The beard was really long. I shaved it all off for a job. But I said to him, yeah, I watch it. He said, Mountain Man that's on Duck Dynasty? I said, yeah. He says, well, you talk just like him. He said, it's really slow. And he says, that's going to be your new nickname. So that's what stuck. It was Dan Young that gave me the nickname, and everybody started calling it to me. Everybody thought it was because I was a big flintlock hunter and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
No, it came from Dan Young sitting in a bar one night eating pizza.
The best nicknames are the ones that you've earned and someone's given to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that you don't like right off the bat, but then you're like, okay,
yeah,
this fits, right?
Yep.
This fits. So,
I mean, my buddy Alex, I'm sure you guys heard me talk about him on the podcast. We call him Chef Alex. He loves to cook. the dude isn't a professional chef. I always give him a hard time because when he was in the Navy, I said to him, well, the only chef you was peeling potatoes. That was the only thing you got to do when you was
Plenty
in
of
the Navy.
that.
But yeah, those are the kind of nicknames, like you said, we just hand them out, those are the ones that stick. So, but yeah, nothing exciting. I mean, Dan Young gave it to me and we kind of took it and ran with it and it stuck. So.
Nice.
Well, when you do this sort of thing and you're, I hate to use the word public figure, but to some degree we all are in our own circles, right? Yeah. There's who we are, and then there's the character that people think we are, and I don't wander too far from we do our best to just keep it real and be who we are and love us or hate us. This is how it is, but at the end of the day, people do get an idea of who they think you are, and we have real lives, real jobs, and we're just blue collar guys that love the outdoors at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
To be honest with you guys, I'm glad I don't have to do this for a living.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be fun,
Well, that's it. When it becomes like a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. People get on my case sometimes. Ron probably knows what I'm going to say now, but I like to put the work in. I like to have, really, really push it. But when it starts, people talk about the grind and all this stuff and the obsession starts, I have to step back from it.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun for me.
Yep.
And I don't mind putting the work in and sweating and cutting trails and building blinds, but it's got to be fun. So I've said the same thing a bunch of times. Like, I couldn't do this as a job. It's got to be the outlet. It's got to be the hobby, and
I mean, now I take my deer hunting a little far. I mean, I obsess over deer. Like this morning, me and my wife, this is my 4th day off or whatever. And I'm sitting here this morning looking on the phone while we're drinking coffee. And I'm like, I'm starting to get a little nervous. I said, 2 days now, I haven't seen the Sarge.
Mm-hmm.
I says, he normally comes through around 8:00. It's 8:30 and he hasn't come through yet. And I'm like, where he's hanging out is pretty close to a highway. I don't want, man, if he got hit by a car, I'm going to, and she's like, Jesus, she said, it's just a deer. I'm like, no. I said, every one of these deer that are hanging on the wall back here, I've become like, I actually got obsessed until I put in the time to actually harvest them, I mean, that buck I killed with my grandfather's flintlock, I hunted that buck from day one of archery season that year till January 15th, the coldest freaking day of the year, that I shot him with a flintlock muzzleloader. I think it was 5:15 in the evening, the biggest buck I've ever killed. And I did it with my grandfather's muzzleloader, and they're, probably my biggest accomplishment ever.
Yeah. That's the cool stuff that you carry with you. I don't know. I'm more about the memories, the stories told back at camp. I love to hunt, but I love to sit and reminisce.
That's the best.
And it's one of those, you had to be there stories. It means a lot to you. And, passing those on to the next generation, that sort of thing. That's what I'm all about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's ride the train. You're talking about traditions and your grandfather. We've been watching the page and your podcast and stuff. Talk about trapping, man. That's a cool thing that Ron and I never really done. And it's an old school thing. It's a lost art. So talk about that a little bit with us. How you got into that and what you get out of it.
That was my grandfather that got me started in this whole outdoor thing. He took me, he had a farm that he used to run, and he was overrun with raccoons. And he said to me, there's about a dozen traps down there in the barn. He says, this year you're in charge of getting rid of these raccoons. I said, okay. I had no idea what I was doing. He kind of took me out, showed me how to set a trap, make a dirt hole, and turn me loose. The only thing he didn't tell me was the first animal you caught, you had to eat. So the very first animal I caught was a possum.
Ew. Nope.
And I'm here to tell you guys that possum is about the most disgusting thing you'll ever try in your life. So if anybody gives you $100 bet or tells you got to eat one, just take it from me. It ain't worth $100.
Let's sidestep
pass.
that real quick, because I've eaten some weird stuff. Because I have a buddy that traps, and he's getting his daughters into hunting, and he's basically a homesteader. I know it's kind of trendy now. And his daughter shot a coyote a couple years ago, and he said,
Yeah.
"If you want to shoot it, we're going to eat it." Same thing. And I ate some. He brought some into work. It smelled so good. It smelled like the best pot roast beef stew. It looked good. I took a bite of it, and I will say it wasn't disgusting, but the first couple seconds, you're like, okay, this is okay. Then it takes a sharp left, and you're like, I'm eating a dog. This is what a dog tastes like. It's exactly what I imagine, And I thought you were going to say eat a raccoon. I don't mind that. Raccoon's pretty good.
You know what? I've had raccoons, like, the smaller ones, preferably. You get a couple of small ones, throw them in a smoker.
Yeah,
they're pretty good.
That's what we did.
What
about a groundhog? You ever eat a groundhog?
Groundhog. My grandfather used to chunk those up and put them in a spaghetti sauce.
Telling you what, try one,
sir.
Ron. Try one. Next time your dogs get one.
Yeah, my dogs are killers, man. One of them is, and she's police, and she's doing pretty good this year because I'm not seeing them on the property. But first time I met Chris in person, he fed me raccoon.
I did. We had a
raccoon's good.
We had a sportsman's dinner. Everybody made a dish, and my buddy, same guy, he brought a bunch. Was it like a teriyaki or was it like a barbecue? Did he make like a pulled?
It was like a pulled pork. It was like it was pulled barbecue type deal.
The three best meats like that he's made. I'm not talking about ducks or deer. Is groundhog was the best that he made. I thought it was the best. Beaver, close second. You guys take it how you want. Laugh, joke, whatever. The beaver was good. Real fatty. That tastes like a pot roast. And raccoon. The first time he made the raccoon, I wasn't crazy about it. Not because of the meat. He put a teriyaki seasoning on that I didn't like, and it didn't add to like the lack of a better term greasiness of it. But the second time he made just like a pulled pork barbecue. I'll tell you what, dude, I'd pay for that at the fair. I'd eat that every day.
I had nutria when I was down in Louisiana. I had that at a restaurant, and all it is a giant muskrat.
Yeah,
I mean, excellent. It tasted like the best piece of beef you could ever have. I mean,
I wasn't sure which way you were going with that. You kind of threw me.
I actually liked it, and I probably would try eating muskrats up here.
Nope, I don't know if I would try it. I would try.
I mean, all they eat is water stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not like not like a raccoon. So
yeah. Okay.
Well,
all right.
The diet of the animal. I mean, we talk about, like, I say this about bears all the time. Black bear. I've had black bear that tastes good, and I've had black bear that tastes bad, and a lot of it has to do with what it's been eating.
Yeah. Yep.
And I've had whitetail that's tasted bad too. And a lot of that's how you harvest, butcher it, cut it up, clean out the sinew, how it's prepared. If you prepare it with care, venison is really a delicacy, but a lot of people don't do it themselves, and they don't know what they're missing.
Yep. So back to the trapping deal. Back when I had started, you could make a little bit of money trapping. So I made enough money my first year to buy a 30-30, a scope, and I believe it was 3 boxes of shells. I had my grandfather take me to Sears and Roebuck's, and I bought everything right there, because you used to be able to go back to Sears and Roebuck's and you could buy sporting goods and everything there. And I think I even had like a couple $100 left over. Now I'm 13 years old. I bought my first rifle, scope, some shells. I got $200 in my pocket. Trapping was the best thing ever. So to me, it was, I waited every year. To me, my daughter's 26, 27 years old, maybe. Christmas morning, she gets so mad at me because I make them wait. I got to go check traps. We can't start Christmas until I get home from checking traps. So to me, it's been a tradition. I don't do it anymore for money because there's no money in it. I do it because I feel that I have to. because there's nobody else out there that's going to take care of these animals. And people are going to get it wrong that I say I take care of the animals. Well, I am, because if you leave these animals get out of control, disease, Mother Nature is cruel with the stuff she can give these animals and make them suffer through before they pass on.
Yeah. Yeah. They can go the hard way.
Mange is not a very nice disease to watch an animal go through. Rabies is not a nice disease to watch an animal go through. So without us doing what we do, these animals will suffer. So those animal rights people don't, the whole save the animal thing, come on, stop watching Disney and come down to reality. And I want you to go in the woods and see an animal that's sick and suffering. And you tell me that you got a heart by telling me that we can't do nothing with those animals. You can see behind me, there's a bunch of fur hanging back there. I ain't wearing it, but it's hanging back there, and I'm proud of catching it, and I'll keep doing it until the day I die. I won't apologize for doing it.
I love it. I love it. As outdoorsmen, we do more for conservation than anybody else in the population. And that's probably an understatement. But when people are thinking, you say about the animal rights folks and stuff like that, when people are thinking about animals, they're not thinking about the hard winter and no food because it's an overpopulated density of a deer herd or whatever it might be. Starvation is an awful way to go.
Yeah. Yep.
I actually ended a deer hunt a couple years ago on the first day of the Maryland firearm season. I was sitting up on top of a hill, and I had seen some deer, and this mangy fox just every couple hours would just come trotting through where my stand was, and I could smell him. And I'm watching him, and he went, and what he did was he dug up a rotten possum carcass. I guess he was eating the same thing you were, and and he went and got that, and he looked like Two-Face from Batman comics. Literally one half of him had nothing and just ooze in, and I put it down up there, and kind of, I don't want to say it ruined my hunt. I might have got a doe later that day, but it was just, I couldn't take the smell, and then that thing was just miserable, and I put her down. So people don't get that, though. They don't see that part of it, right? They don't.
Surely. So from the trapping side of things, Rob, I mean, you do all your own tanning and everything as far as that goes, start to finish?
Yeah.
That's a cool process. Well, I mean, I really am intrigued by that.
I don't do so much of my own tanning anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously I got a real job where
it's time and work.
I save up a bunch of my hides, and then I'll either take them to, like, we have our local trapping organization here, the PA Trappers, District 3. We have a fur sale, usually in March. I'll take my dried furs to that and sell them to fur dealers, or the ones that I think are special or the ones I think are pretty cool looking, I'll keep, and I'll send them out somewhere to have them tanned. I've been using a dude in Alaska to do my tanning, and the dude's phenomenal. His prices are excellent. Like, I'm going to send him 4 or 5 deer capes here in a couple of weeks, because I started back into doing taxidermy work again. I did taxidermy work for 15 years, worked for a guy, and then I went on my own for a little bit, and then I had to go get a real job because I couldn't support the family on taxidermy, people not picking stuff up.
So you got into that by just working under somebody and learning the trade?
Yep. Went and took the test in PA, because back then you used to have to take a test. Now, like I said, I'm 56 years old, so all this stuff goes back a good ways. Now you give the game or the Farm Bureau $100 and you're a taxidermist. I mean, to me, that's great. Let them pass out $100 bill and get every Joe Blow down the road here to be a taxidermist, because 5 years from now, when your deer's hanging on the wall and it stinks and it's falling apart, you're going to call up a good taxidermist that went through the test and knows what they're doing and say, hey, how much does it cost to get this done? You should have spent that $700 or $800 the first time, not the $200 to get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that the key to learning any trade really is, mentorship.
Yeah.
come in
Yeah.
underneath as an apprentice and learn it.
Yeah. I worked for a guy I think I stayed with him for probably 8 years. And then I finally went out on my own, just through a business decision because I wasn't getting paid every Friday like I was supposed to, so.
So we're both real into like traditions and old stuff. And you said about like the fur sale. Clearly you're trying to, maybe make a little bit of money, but are you doing that just for like the tradition of going and
Yeah.
checking it out and hanging out and seeing
Yep.
old buddies and stories, or is
Yep.
that something?
Yep.
Tell us about that. That's cool. That kind of stuff intrigues me.
The District 3, which is like Washington County, Westmoreland County, Fayette, Allegheny, and I believe there's one more county in there that makes up District 3 of the PA Trappers. They get together at one of the local gun clubs in one of those counties, and everybody will bring their furs there. You got traps you want to sell, you set up out in the parking lot, sell some traps. There will be actual fur dealers, fur buyers inside in the building, and you take your furs in and they'll grade them and they'll make you an offer. You walk around, get all your offers, and then you go out in the parking lot and figure out what you're going to do, who you're going to sell to, And like I said, the money's not there like it used to be. Like the last couple of years has actually blown my mind because skunks were like the money makers the last 2 years. And I haven't been able to catch a skunk if I would put a box trap out. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like I got tons of skunks on my deer leash and I can't catch one, So
Are they just getting wise? I mean, it sounds like the population's there. I mean, we got skunks everywhere here. And
I don't know what the problem is. Why, I never had a problem catching skunks before, and I don't know what, I don't know if they, like you said, they're getting wise because
I'm hesitant to let them
them
kick the dog out, after the sun goes down.
Yeah,
because there's so many around here.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what the problem is. Why, but this year I am not a big water trapper. So a buddy of mine talked me into going with him and doing some beaver trapping.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Coon Creek Trappers is one of my sponsors. They make trapping supplies. He makes his own lures and baits and stuff like that. So I said to him, I said, I'll go. I said, but I got to use, Coon Creek Trappers, beaver lures and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, you do whatever you want, man. You're going to set your own traps the whole 9 yards. He said, I'll show you how to do it once. The rest of the traps you set are yours. So I set everything up. We go back the next morning, the first check, and I caught a 37.5 pound male beaver.
Nice.
And, posted a video on YouTube of course, dispatching the beaver. I mean, yes, he's in a trap, but he's still alive. You got to dispatch him. And dispatching him is a 22 to the back of the head. And, of course, I get the hate mail and, what if somebody had you in a trap and shot you in the back of the head? It is what it is. This is the way, I could have done it the way we normally do it, is we bop stuff on the nose with a baseball bat and kill it that way. But, you gotta
dispatch it and make it painless.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want holes in the fur, I knew that this beaver was going to be mine, so I don't mind the little 22 bullet in the back of the head. Normally what we'll do is we'll get a coyote or a fox to look at us, and you just take one of those little baseball bats from the pirate games and just bop them right directly in front of the nose, and it kills them instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's quick, humane, takes care of it. It sounds cruel, but it's not. I mean, I'll show you thousands of hours of videos of me doing it and how quick they die, So I got that. Now I'm working on making a beaver tail wallet, and the rest of the beaver I'm mounting, I'm going to
very cool.
Have a mounted a beaver. So,
when you were talking, I was looking, I have a friend of mine did all this trapping. We had beavers on our property, and it was real cool at first. And then we came back after Thanksgiving, and it was like the Mississippi River on the lower part of our thing. I mean, they took probably a 6-inch deep creek that was maybe 10 foot wide. And again, after Thanksgiving, we went down, it was probably 100 yards wide, and some spots were like 8 or 9 foot deep. When we put decoys out to try to duck hunt it, and we couldn't get them back, So they caught one. I think it was, and this is not me trying to one up you, I think it was an older one that had been out for a while. It was 38 or 40 pounds. My buddy's got a picture. He's 6'2", and he's holding this thing up, and it's just ridiculous, dude.
There's a guy up here that comes to the beaver sale or to the fur sale every year, and he brings nothing but beavers. That's what he does. He's a beaver trapper. He's got beaver that are close to 60, 70 pounds, and those are river beavers, bank beavers is what we call them. But yeah, I mean, those are the ones you want to make the hats out of. Those are the good beaver felt hats. Those are, the ones good for that.
Well, one of the guys that comes on the show pretty often, he says, look, if you got fish, you're going to like to fish. If you got turkeys, you're going to love to hunt turkeys. You got ducks, you're going to be. Chris is a waterfowl guy. I like to hunt archery. That's my passion, where, my brain, I sort of get the glazed over look this time of year because my brain's starting to shift gears onto thinking about archery season. We all have that thing that we love to do. Listening to you, it sounds like obviously you enjoy trapping, and you like hunting with the flintlock, but like, what's the passion? Like, what is it that you love it all? I get it. But, what's your go-to if you had to?
Bow season, archery season, the one-on-one with, I don't have to shoot a buck every year. I'll fill the freezer up with doe. I'll be the first one to tell you, you got to shoot as many does as you possibly can if you want to see a rut.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no biologist. I've talked to a bunch of them. If you guys watch the podcast, I talked to every one of them from the Game Commission. And, off the air questions that I ask them on the way I control and manage my property is basically what they're trying to do with the state. I could just get to do it on a little smaller version with 5 or 6 guys that hunt on that property. So we get to kill a ton of does, and we see rut activity like you're supposed to see. You know what I mean? If you got a ton of does, your bucks ain't got to get up and go look for anything. They're there. The bucks should just move around a little bit here and there. They're not going to get up and run around all during the daylight. So archery season to me is my favorite time of year, especially November, the middle of November, when that rut really kicks off.
Yeah.
I'll lose a job over top of that just so I can be in a tree.
Sure. I play the rut. I know that, there's different, thought processes and the science behind the lunar cycle and all of that. But, the way that I play the rut, and it's partially just how I was brought up, is, look, when that moon's full, those deer are moving at night. They're feeding all night long. I'll hunt hard 10 to 2, but I'm not taking a vacation. I'm not taking my week off when the moon phases like that. Now, after that, if it's dark, I'm taking a week off, whether that's the first week of November or the second week of November. Usually it's interchangeable depending on the lunar cycle. And we see deer moving through, but I talk to guys that they say they just don't like hunting the rut, or they don't experience the rut the same way. As maybe their preference is different, but it could be, like you said, just doe population is different in their part of the state. And if it's, the deer aren't on their feet moving because they don't have to, I mean, I get it. You're going to take the easiest path possible to get home to where you need to be.
I try, right around Veterans Day is normally what I think in my area seems to be the best rut activity that we have.
Okay.
I believe 100% in scent control. I don't use an ozonics. I don't know if you guys seen, I put up a post a couple weeks ago on Facebook about who uses an ozonics, just trying to kind of get that feel out there, because Guys are talking about using them now at coyote hunting. I'm sorry. That thing puts off an odor that I can smell.
Yeah, it does. I use an ozonics, and you can tell that it's running when it's running. I don't think that it. I believe in the science of what it's meant to do, but we did an episode, I don't know, maybe last year sometime, where we were just talking about scent control. The myths, the reality, and the in between. And, really our conclusion, with Chris and I think we had Leo on that episode with us, another guy from 3B, and we were just talking through that. And what it comes down to me, if I had to boil it down to the basics, is that deer's nose is going to bust me eventually. Anything that I can do to gain an edge. And if that's, the clothing that I'm wearing, the wind, my approach to the stand, all of the above, if it's going to buy me a little bit of time, then there's value in it for me.
Absolutely. I got one of those scent crusher closets.
Yeah.
My clothes go in there. Once a week I run them through a 30-minute cycle through there. But I still shower in the morning with, no scented soap. I got beard products that smell like dirt. So that, I am big on.
You want to sound and smell natural.
Yeah. I'm big on trying to eliminate my human scent. Dan Invault, I did a episode with Dan Invault, the big buck serial killer from Wisconsin. This dude hunts 8 feet off the ground and goes right after work. He's a machinist. Goes in his blue jeans, his work boots, and his flannel shirt that he wears to work.
Mm-hmm.
And he kills these giant bucks in Wisconsin. So what's the right theory?
I know.
You know what I mean?
My older brother, who taught me a lot, taught me what I know about hunting. And I model a lot of my thought pattern after what I've been taught by him. We call him the scent warden because he is strict on it. But, like I've killed deer, I don't smoke anymore, but I've killed deer smoking cigarettes in the stand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I killing big bucks doing that? Probably not as quickly as, the younger ones, but, Chris's brother, Josh, we get on him all the time because he smokes like an Apache, but he shoots big bucks.
Yeah.
And he's just got him where he's at.
He's got pictures of him with a bow or a muzzleloader. And, I'm cracking up while you're saying it because he's in a wife beater and jeans. And he's holding, these, I'm not into scoring, but just these ridiculously big deer. And he's ripping a dart.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's
that's just
crazy.
him, man. Now, I will say, as much as we tease him, he's the guy, though. He hunts hard. He's out there all the day. He's patterned them. He knows where they're going to be. And he's out there. So, he's going to get into them, But I'll sit still all day and not drink anything but water and pee in a bottle. And
I still not see anything.
Yeah, archery season is probably my favorite.
What do you, I'm not doing a promo here, but since we're on the ozonics thing, Rob, what's your take on the hex hunting system, the under base layer stuff? Because I knew a guy that swore by it. I haven't gone out and purchased it myself, but every year I really think hard about doing it.
I went to a show down in West Virginia with my buddy who owns Rack and Stick. He invited me and Jonathan down, so we went and hung out with him for the day. And those hex guys was in the next aisle over.
Mm-hmm.
So my buddy Jonathan, he's like he does some outdoor. He has Jacobs Creek Outdoors. So he said to me, he says, "I'm going to go over and talk to those guys." I said, "Well, I'll go with you." I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know about any clothing that's going to throw this special cast on an animal to make them think that you're not there. I just don't. I can't buy into this. So I go over there and I listen to these guys, and what they were telling me kind of made sense to me.
It does make sense when you listen to him.
Yeah. But the results that he was showing me, I get the same results by just washing my clothes and watching the scent. You know what I mean? I've had bucks come directly over to the tree that I just climbed and look directly up at me and go back to feeding. And that's just using my soap that I use in the morning, because I'm not going to, I'm not on here to promote nobody, but everybody knows what stuff I use, and I swear by it. I've been using it for 25 years. So, if you take care of your clothing, your scent, I don't see a problem. Your equipment, your equipment needs to be scent free too. You can't smell like McDonald's or gasoline and plan on killing things unless you're hunting bears. Bears could care less. I think they should come out with a bear scent called baby diaper, because in PA, you would kill every bear you've seen, But that hex clothing, I don't think it's a gimmick. I think maybe if I could get myself to spend the money on it and try it, that maybe it does actually work. I just have a hard time spending that kind of money.
Well, that's where I am. So I'm the youngest in my household. I grew up on hand-me-downs, and I'm still wearing. I've been married for 20 plus years, and I probably only bought a few pieces of camo myself in my lifetime, because I leverage what I've got. So I got it. Let's talk about the show here a little bit as we go on. I know you had mentioned, talking to different biologists and different things. You have you interact with the Game Commission a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like, sitting down and talking with the Game Commission? Because you know how it is even from their perspective. I try to put myself in their shoes when they go out to like a public meeting. You're going to have people that are respectful, and then you're going to have those hunters that they can't wait to get done and move on from. What's that like, interacting with them? Because I know you pay a lot of respect to the Game Commission, being a conservationist, and I just saw you post here over the weekend where you're enrolled in a hunter program. If you want to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, the certified hunter program.
Yeah,
we get to. You have to go take a test. It's a written test. I forget, 100 questions or something like that. And then you got to go take a shooting test. You got to qualify with whatever weapons you choose to use.
Mm-hmm.
Bow. If you take a rifle, they'll let you hunt with a shotgun, muzzleloader, whatever. So I went through that whole course, and Tyler Strolacker is the guy who heads that up. You get to go on to certain farms that are enrolled in this program that are overrun with deer. And when I say overrun with deer, it's like the deer populations that we used to see when I was younger. I've been on some of these farms where I've seen 35, 40 deer in a couple hours. And I've been on some of these farms where I couldn't buy a doe. All I've seen was bucks, and the program's great. It's helping the farmers. It's getting you in on other property. A lot of these guys, once you get to know them, will let you come back even.
Sure.
And hunt, just come and hunt whenever you want.
Farmer wants the deer off the field.
Exactly. And most of these farms that they're allowing you to go on, these guys are actually making a living off of their crops.
Mm-hmm.
Not these guys that are these ag tag farms that are, these deer ate a bushel of corn off of me and I want them all killed. So here's a handful of tags, go wipe the deer population out. That's, these guys actually make, a lot of these guys are selling cereal grains. You know what I mean? Soybeans. The farm I hunted the other night, it was 500 and some acres. That 500 and some acres, probably 400 of it is soybeans.
Right.
And when you look out across the field in one soybean field and you're seeing 15, 20 deer in one field, there's a problem, and these guys enrolled in this, they expect you to come there and shoot deer. So if you go a bunch of times and you don't shoot nothing because you're being picky, you want to shoot big deer or whatever, that's not the way this program works. These guys want you in there. And, I hate to say it, the first one that walks out with spots, you got to put a bullet through because that's what you're there for. And a lot of these farmers check on you while you're there. You know?
They want them cleared off. That's
Yeah.
how I cut my teeth, just hunting for farmers, local farmers that wanted them cleaned out. It's a different way of hunting for sure.
Yeah.
That certified hunter program, now that's not statewide, right? That's just certain parts of the state.
No, right now it's more in our area and a little bit of central PA. It hasn't made it out. Like there's a few farms out east and it's gradually getting bigger. Like they've added more farms this year. Right before I got on here with you guys, I was making a reservation for tomorrow morning to go shoot deer on a farm out not too far from the house here. So
got to go do it before you go back to work, right?
Yeah. I got to be at work at 4:00 tomorrow evening. So I got to go shoot deer. But, yeah, as far as talking and being around the game wardens, I am really good friends with a lot of wardens that were in this area that are all retired now, and my daughter, as everybody knows, is in law enforcement. So I have a respect for law enforcement, regardless if you're a game warden or a security guard or whatever you are. These guys go to these fairs and events like that. And like you said, you got the guys that go up and tell them thank you for what they've done. And then you got the guy that comes up there and cusses him up and down because he's been out 3 days for an hour each time and ain't seen a deer. And he says there's no deer left in the woods.
Right.
But he's only going 75 feet off the road and wondering why he ain't seeing nothing. Yeah. I got to have Steve Smith on, which is the executive director of the Pennsylvania Game Commission.
Yep. That was a good episode.
Me and Steve tried for a year to get this together, and I'm kind of glad it happened after the Sunday hunting went through, because I was a big advocate for getting Sunday hunting passed through. I had Mandy Steele on, who is an Allegheny County Democratic representative who got on board and got it pushed through. I deal a lot with the Pennsylvania Federation of Sportsmen, Hunter Nation. All of them had a big part to do with it. But Steve Smith, off of the podcast and on the podcast, you could tell the guy's genuine. He loves his job. He cares about the state of Pennsylvania. It blew my mind. His boys are big ringneck hunters, which absolutely I figured they'd, be big whitetail hunters like him, but they're not. They're into hunting ringnecks, the biologist I've had on. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Jeremy Banfield episode with the elk. Jeremy, this guy lives his passion for the Pennsylvania elk,
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know we have an elk population. If you're from Pennsylvania, but, in the circles that we're talking with, when we get to these outer state guys and stuff, they don't even realize there's an elk herd in PA, that we hold one. And it's probably, with the terrain, we just don't have the vast valleys for them to run. So as much as I'd love to see a huge elk population all throughout the state, we can only hold so much.
Right.
But a buddy of mine just sent us a message the other day that he got drawn for the late season, so he got a tag, and he's pumped, because it's a hunt of a lifetime for us guys.
A guy I work with drew a tag, archery season.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be bow hunting.
So cool.
I've been putting in since it started, so I got max preference points. I have never got drawed in PA. I told my wife, that's it. I'm going to Montana or Colorado next fall. I got to do this before I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
I'm-
understand.
I'm going to find a place that'll give me a 14-day hunt. I'm going to take the muzzleloader and my bow. I'm going to hunt, the first, 5 days with the bow. And then I'll do 5 days with the muzzleloader, but then the OT6 is going to be there too to finish up
I was
the
going to
last
say, you want to
4
make
days.
it hard on yourself, right? You got to make it challenging.
Do you have
You know-
somebody you're going with, or are you just going to look some stuff up?
I've been looking a couple different outfitters up. I mean, if you got somebody afterwards, let me know. You know?
I don't know anybody, but we just met a good friend of ours that's got a podcast from the opposite side of PA from you, out here east, that he's got connections everywhere. Any place, I tell him I might go. He's like, look this guy up if you want to go fishing. Check this guy out if you want to go this way. And I know he's got a couple elk on the wall. I don't know where he's got them from, but I'll message him and see what he knows for you after this.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
So let's talk
Yeah,
about
for
telling
sure.
stories, man. Tell some stories. What's your passion for that and passing it on? And I mean, that's what we do, right? That's our thing.
I don't know what kind of stories we can get into on here. I mean, a lot of the stories, like a lot of my hunting memories are with my grandfather
Right.
and my kids, and the kids that I've got to take out. Like, I used to help with hunter education a lot, at the old sportsman's club I belonged to when I was president. I was there for 20 some years as a president. And I stepped down from that, to spend more time with my kids in the woods. And, to me, the stories, like, I can remember a deer hunt that my grandfather took me, and he takes me, and I think I was maybe 14 years old. He takes me and he sets me on this stump and he says, I'll be back to get you at noon.
Yep.
Okay. It's like 5:00 in the morning. I'm like, okay, I'm a 14-year-old kid. You're not supposed to be out of the distance of whoever you're hunting with, at that age. But back then they just, put you on a stump and I'll be back to get you. So it's getting daylight. It's probably 5:30, 5:45. And we're up in the mountains, up in Ligonier. And I hear this god-awful screaming noise behind me. I get up and I start following the foot tracks of my grandfather in the snow to where he was. So I get to where he was. He said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I said, there's something back there screaming like it's getting his face tore off. He's like, it's just a raccoon. They're just fighting. He's like, now come on. He takes me back down there. He sets me on that stump. He leaves. About an hour goes by, that same noise again. Well, here I finally got to see what it was. It wasn't raccoons. It was a bobcat. I got to
Yeah, they
see my
make an
very
awful
first
noise.
bobcat. Yeah, it sounded like a baby. It was crazy. He watched me through a pair of binoculars that day feed a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to a black bear. And he said to me, there is something definitely wrong with you. He said, that bear was entirely too close.
Yeah.
I said, I could reach out and hand him the peanut butter and jelly sandwich piece by piece. When he was taking it, his lips were actually touching my fingers. So,
Wow.
That was probably one of the funnest and probably one of the dumbest things I've ever done while I've been in the woods. Well, maybe not, because I do hunt rattlesnakes too. So,
Yeah, you can have that. You can have that rattlesnake hunting, but we know guys that do it and have a lot of fun with it.
Man, it's a blast. Like, I got into an argument today on Facebook with a guy. He posted on there that, he goes out and checks trail camera with a shotgun up in the mountains and he kills every rattlesnake he sees. Well, first off, you just admitted to doing something completely illegal on Facebook, because you have to have a permit and you're only allowed to shoot one or keep one a year. Okay. So now you just admitted to doing illegal activities. And I said to him, I said, there's no reason to kill that snake. None whatsoever. That snake knows he can't eat you. And every rattlesnake that I've ever come across has wanted to get away from me. They don't want to chase me. They don't want to bite me. They want to get away from me. You mess around with them, that's when you're going to get bit. So for him to say, you know, I take a shotgun with me and I shoot every rattlesnake I see, dude, you're kind of a, you know,
There are
you're one of the,
a lot of morons on Facebook.
Yeah,
Let's just face it. You
think-
can,
think about what you're saying, because you're getting yourself in trouble, you
yeah,
know? And I don't know. The whole Facebook thing, I got to watch what I do, because, you know, I do have the podcast, so I got to watch how I say things, you know, and there's times that I'll forget which, either I'm commenting under my own name, or I comment and then I'll go back and look and I'm like, damn, that was under the Keystone Experience. Now I got to go
Sure.
delete it, you know? But-
well, that's when it's good to have a partner, because these
just
guys are
blame it on
always
him.
these guys are always telling me, you know, you probably shouldn't go there. But well, listen, Rob, this has been cool, man. Just getting to know you. I appreciate you hanging out. I know we've been trying to set this thing up for quite some time.
Well, you guys are going to have to do the same. I'm going to have you on.
That's the idea, right?
My side.
I think that we want to bring exposure to you, like to our circle. You know, people that don't know. You know, I'm Central PA. Chris is South Central PA, Northern Maryland, and you know, but having other people regionally come on, it helps get our name out as well. And so, you know, we do a thing that we call the Tracks and Tackle Collaborative Network, which is just a bunch of guys like you and like us, and we boost one another's content. That's Chris is talking about, you know, hey, we were on a show with another guy, and this is who you go to talk to about fishing, and this is who you get, you know, you need an elk guide, I know a guy, and it's a pretty cool network, and we meet a lot of really cool people doing this. So, super glad that you came on and got to share some stories with us tonight.
I appreciate the invite on, guys, and hopefully it, you know, wasn't boring, and you guys will get to come over and BS on my side, you know.
Anytime.
Chris, I was down in the Delta. I hunted lots of ducks and geese down there. I used to go with a guy called Hunker Down Outfitters.
Okay, talk dirty to me, dude.
We had a ball down there. I mean, I try to tell people you ain't seen nothing till you're down on the Delta and have 10,000 Canadian geese coming over you in the morning, and you can't shoot a single one of them.
Yeah,
you know?
Ron's our deer guy, but he's actually been down there hunting too, man. And I actually sat in a different spot tonight because I knew you were more of a deer and just all around hunter guy. I usually sit in another spot where I got all my duck mounts behind me. But yeah, we'll have you back on. Maybe we'll talk some of that stuff and more eating funky stuff, man. I want to hear more about that type of stuff.
For sure, man. Like I said, we'll get together and we'll get it on my side. We'll have you guys on my podcast and
look forward to it.
We get on that. We'll just, whatever it is, 2-3 hours, whatever it takes. I don't care.
Let her rip.
Yeah, we'll just have fun, you know.
Ron has to steer me. I'm like a ship. Ron's got to steer me.
The longer we go on my side, the less episodes I got to do for the sponsors. So that makes sense.
I can dig it. I can dig it. And we can help you with that for sure. All right, brother. Well, listen, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Chris, appreciate you, man, as always. For anybody out there, if you guys are still listening, give us a like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Remember to get outdoors. Nature is our playground, and stay wild.